she received a telephone call, and although only 2 people knew what had been said, that conversation would change the lives of all involved forever.
Imagine entrusting your life savings to someone who promised to secure your future, only to realize your dream was their deceit. In today's video, we dive into a chilling tale where trust turns to treachery and financial advice morphs into a fatal attraction. Watch till the end as we recount the case that shocked a nation and shattered lives. Joan Beddeson, a 71-year-old retired tax inspector in Cheshire, England, lived a life marked by solitude and a longing for companionship.
Uncle Norman had always wanted to live there, and even though he died, I think she wanted to carry out his wishes.
Her days, once filled with the examination of numbers and ledgers, had become quiet and uneventful in her retirement. This was normal for childless senior citizens, but Joan's vulnerability made her an easy target for those with malicious intent. Her story took a dark turn when she responded to a newspaper advertisement from Young Ridgeway and Associates. It was here that she met Peter Crittenden, a 64-year-old independent financial advisor whose charm and persuasive demeanor masked sinister motives.
Have any children of their own, and I think they looked upon Joan as a daughter that they'd never had, and she was very, very happy living with them.
Crittenden, a married father of 3, portrayed himself as a beacon of support and guidance. Despite being a family man, he managed to seduce Joan, who genuinely believed 2 things. 1, that Peter was going to grow her money into a good investment, and 2, that Peter liked her and wanted to be with her. Expertly weaving a web of deceit, he convinced her to hand over nearly £300,000, which was her life savings. Crittenden then funneled Joan's money into clearing his substantial personal debts and funding his lavish lifestyle. He did not even let his firm know about this transaction. As Joan's trust and love for Crittenden deepened, so did her financial commitment. However, the story shifted when Joan started to sense the unsettling reality behind Crittenden's actions. Doubts crept into her mind, leading her to question the integrity of the man she had trusted fully. The relationship, once a source of comfort, became a well of anxiety and fear. When the doubts were too great to ignore, Joan requested for the money back. And because he already used most of that cash, this was a demand that Crittenden was not prepared to fulfill. Due to the delays and the excuses surrounding the return of her money, Joan's suspicion grew, and so did Crittenden's desperation, culminating in a fateful decision that would forever alter the course of their lives.
On Saturday, November the 16th, 2002, District Nurse Catherine Dawson knocked on Joan Beddeson's front door for the 3rd time that day.
The horrifying plan was executed. In the early hours, under the cover of darkness, Peter Crittenden drove from his home in Worcester to Joan Beddeson's bungalow. The night was still. Joan was, of course, asleep and defenseless at this hour. Crittenden, driven by greed and desperation, smothered her with a pillow, silencing her doubts and her life in one cold, calculated act. Joan Beddeson, a vulnerable elderly lady, had been killed in her home, a place where she should have felt safest. The man who had promised to safeguard her future had instead stolen it away in the most brutal manner imaginable. The aftermath of Joan's case sent shockwaves through the community. The investigation that followed was meticulous and unyielding. The first path for the investigators was to follow the money, and they did not need another path. They immediately looked at Crittenden, whose meticulous planning seemed to have paid off initially as he returned to his unsuspecting wife. But the man's attempts to cover his tracks were futile. For one, he left concerned messages left on Joan's answering machine that did very little to mask the truth. His car was captured on traffic cameras, tracing his journey from Worcester to Macclesfield and back.
And we found that 10 minutes after filling up with petrol, Peter Crittenden's number plate is registered on an ANPR camera on the M5 travelling north.
Phone records further tightened the net around Crittenden. Calls and messages painted a picture of premeditation, revealing a communication trail that linked him to the crime beyond reasonable doubt. The tide of evidence was overwhelming and the motive clear. Peter was immediately held in custody, and the trial that followed was a spectacle of justice in swift action. The courtroom was charged with tension, the air thick with anticipation as the proceedings unfolded. Financial records laid bare the flow of Joan's life savings into Crittenden's accounts, painting a picture of exploitation and greed. Once a figure of respect, he now sat facing the consequences of his heinous act. Crittenden's fate was sealed as he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a recommendation to serve at least 18 years. The financial advisory profession was left to grapple with the shadow cast by one of its own. This tragic story serves as a cautionary tale that sometimes the greatest threat is disguised as a helping hand. It compels us to question the motives of those we entrust with our precious assets and our lives. Thank you for watching. Drop your thoughts on this chilling story in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more daily true crime stories.